Hello, I'm Marilla Sargent, Vice President and Branch Manager of the Montlake Terrace office of Home Street Bank. Home Street Bank is proud to sponsor these videos, which will help the voters make an informed choice in the November elections.
Welcome to Vote 2017. I'm Teresa Whipple here with Angela Harris, who is running for Edmonds Port Commission District 1. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
We're going to talk today about some issues facing the port, but first, why don't you tell voters more about you?
All right. Well, I've been in Edmonds for about 4.5 years. I have 4 children, one with severe disabilities in his 20s, and the youngest being 10, so we kind of have a range. My partner has 2 children, so 6 between us, and that keeps us pretty busy.
I would say.
Very different
busy.
schools involved there.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer. I'm very passionate about giving back. I volunteer with a few different programs. Global Give Back Circle, which is a nonprofit mentoring program. It pairs at-risk girls in developing countries with mentors to kind of help bring them up through education, give them just that support to get through it all. It was a great organization. I've been volunteering for about 7 years and super excited and passionate about it right now. My mentee was just here for 2 weeks, so it was pretty cool. We held a couple of different events, and then I just got back. She was headed back to Kenya, but just got back from New York. We were able to attend a meeting on leaving no one behind at the UN General Assembly. So that was really exciting to see all the work going on across the globe to bring women up in different areas. So I do a lot of different volunteering. I volunteered closer to home, Snohomish, just blanking the name, Domestic Violence Services of Snohomish County, Washington State Sensory Disability Services. So I've done a variety of things in that area. And then I'm also a business program manager at Microsoft, where I've been for about 12 years.
Yeah, busy life.
Yeah.
And why the port? What kind of drew you to that race, that position?
Yeah, well, like I said, being involved in the different areas, I've been involved kind of broader community, and last fall decided I really wanted to be involved closer in, do something here locally for Edmonds Woodway area. And the elections were part of that. No matter kind of who you align yourself with, it was messy. It was divisive. It's still divisive, and it was messy. And I feel like, I believe we could do better. And so I started looking at what that meant for me. I talked to a lot of different people and did a lot of research over a few months and decided that the port was a fit for me for my passion and for my skills. And so I got involved.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the port has been in the news a fair amount in the last few years, and in the context sometimes of what's going on with the Edmonds City Council. One of the things that has come up recently, in recent months, was the Edmonds Marsh and the fact there was some discussion about what were the best widths of buffers to protecting the marsh, and the port, of course, owns the Harbor Square Business Complex, which is right next to the marsh, and there was some back and forth with the council about how wide the buffer should be and all that. But what came out of that was, there was some perceptions, I think, some rhetoric that was stated that perhaps the port really doesn't care about the environment, that they really are more interested in development than in the environment. And I'm wondering, you've done some research about the port and what they've done, and what are you thinking about the port's role in all of that, and do you think that they are, either are or supposed to be an environmental steward as well as somebody who's caring about, the financial bottom line of the taxpayers?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, there's been a lot, and a lot to kind of, dive into and research, and of course I've been here, so I've heard a lot of it just as a resident, but then you start kind of digging in more. The port's number one goal is economic development, not goal I should say, but that's what they are tasked with, right, is economic development. But number 2, and right alongside that, is the environment. And I believe that throughout, they're kind of driving more toward the economic development, and kind of, it seemed like getting very connected to one plan. And it doesn't appear that plan is really in balance with nature, and I believe it can be. So I think what you saw coming out of that was, trying to do just enough, but I think we can do more. And that kind of sums up why I looked at the port and why I wanted to get involved. We have a beautiful marina, we have a great shoreline, we have incredible opportunity with the marsh as one of the largest salt marshes in the Puget Sound, and we can do more. So did they do some things? Yeah, but we can do more, and I think we need to do more.
Okay. And related to that, with the Marsh area and of course that Harbor Square Business Complex, going back even further in history, the port had proposed some plans for that business complex, which included some new buildings with maybe some mixed-use development, some residential, some things like that. A little bit taller buildings than what we're used to seeing in Edmonds, and the city council gave pretty strong signals they didn't think that was a good idea, so the port withdrew their plan, and now they're just maintaining, the buildings they have, and sounds like they're, doing fine financially and getting revenue from those and all that, but, they've said, the existing commissioners have said they have no plans to do anything else at this point. But what is your feeling, in knowing some of that background, I'm sure, about what should be done there with, as a port commissioner, if you came in and you were trying to balance the revenue versus the environment, what do you think should end up happening in that Harbor Square Business Complex area?
Well, I think the plan of record right now is the one that was shot down, right? So in 2013. So that's one of the things we need to address, because I'm hearing and you hear them state that we don't, that's not the plan, but it is actually the plan that's on record right now. So that needs to be addressed. As far as what we can do with that area, I think we need to listen to the residents. I think that, city council and the port, we are elected in, they are elected in. And so they should be hearing from residents of Edmonds and Woodway what they want to happen. And then whatever the outcome of that is, it has to be, again, in balance with the environment. And I think that can be done.
Okay.
So I think that, it's not really, me personally, I don't think we need to build these, additional condos and whatnot. I don't think we need to develop there in that manner to bring in money. But as a commissioner, again, I think we look to what are the voters saying, and then we try to balance that, as best we can. Well, needs to be balanced with the environment.
Right. And so one of the questions I think has come up with everybody I've talked to so far is, do you think residential in that area is a good idea or a bad idea in that Harbor Square complex?
I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of it, and here in Edmonds, and it's great. It is bringing more money in to the city, and more people going to the restaurants and all of that. So that's all great. I don't think we need it in that area. When we've got the marsh there, there's other things we can do to bring in, to contribute to the economy through that area.
Okay. And one more follow-up kind of related to those first two questions is, in this whole process, there's clearly been, or at least I've perceived, I'd like your opinion, some tension between the city and the port on these issues. I've felt it, I've heard it. Do you think that's a fair assessment? And also, what would you say should be done about it, if anything? Some people say, well, we have different missions. Maybe it's just a natural thing that happens between cities and ports. But what are your thoughts on that?
Natural or not, we're not going to get anywhere. If there's tensions there, and that again was part of why I decided to run. No matter what business, no matter what you're doing, if you are at a standstill and, kind of locking fists, nothing gets done. And I think that's why we have a plan that's plan of record, but obviously has been shot down, and nothing's being done, and there seems to be all this old kind of baggage with that. So I think getting some new ideas, some fresh perspectives, and building those relationships, because whether or not they have different goals, we could be working together a lot better.
Yeah, and I remember hearing you say at some event you were speaking at that I was there, talking about your background in your job at Microsoft. Kind of one of your things that you pride yourself on is your ability to bring people together. So you think that's something you could bring to the process?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of one of the things I'm always kind of, called out at work is that ability. I bring together a lot of, different varying needs from projects, and have to figure out what the plan is going to be, get everyone to sign off on it, and then of course implement it, and it's always done well. So yeah, I think that's a huge thing that I can bring and very much needed. There's so much passion, and that's what struck me. So, and every step of the way here the last few months, I'm just completely blown away as I go along. So much passion, so much knowledge, and we should be tapping into all of it. And in order to get, again, anything done, we need the council and our port to work together to that end.
Okay. What do you think, if you were going to name, if you were elected, what would be one of the main kind of goals you'd have in getting into the Port Commission process? What would you, kind of the first thing you'd tackle, I guess?
Well, not to be repetitive, but the collaboration standpoint.
Okay, no,
I
that's
would
good
wanna
because
hear-
we've talked about a lot of things, and if that's the first one,
I think, I mean, there's a lot, so I'll talk about a few
Yeah.
things that are important to me. But one, to get any of them done, I just feel really strongly that we need to build those relationships. So
Yeah.
we need to have the conversations and have open communication with the public. You know, it's been kind of hard to get a hold of the current commissioners up until, you know, a few months ago, where there's contact information on their site. But I think that should be open. We're electing the commissioners. I think we need to really be listening to what the citizens say, and groups like Earth Corps and Sierra Club and the city council members, and, you know, just across the board.
Okay.
So we need to start with the collaboration. And I brought up the plan too. I think having a plan sitting on record that everyone's just kind of grumbling about isn't doing any good. So it needs to be updated. You know, you can't just let something sit on a shelf hoping that some change will come someday and you get to do it. Like, we need a plan that's actually going to work. Stormwater, another thing, but without collaboration, we're not going to get anywhere because it becomes it's the port's it's the city's responsibility, or this part's on the port though, and, you know.
And that's
it's messy.
specifically related to Harbor Square.
Yeah, Harbor
stormwater,
Square,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And it's messy. I mean, it's not easy. There's no easy answer, and I get that. But again, unless we're open to the conversations and thinking outside the box instead of being stuck in kind of current ways, we're not going to get anywhere. The marsh itself, I would love to work on a restoration plan for the marsh. It's been a little bit difficult for people to get in and do some work that they would like, just volunteering. There's a lot of people that would love to come in and do, you know, some volunteer work. And of course, we've got the daylighting, which I would obviously support, and I'm excited for that to happen. But there's also other things that could be happening. You know, some invasive species need to be pulled, you know, so weeding and then replanting. We've got some real concerns for future along the shore there. So having a restoration plan in place would allow for some targeted and organized work, you know, to happen, and letting people get involved with that. Looking at other ports, they also have, many of them have climate action plans, and we have sort of a city plan, but I think we need to be looking at it from the port's perspective as well. So there's other things, but those are some of the tops of mind.
That was a lot of good stuff there. Thank you very much. So what do you think, if you look at what the port is doing now, can you point to something that you think that they're doing well?
Yeah, you know, the marina, I've been looking at, you know, different feedback, just even out on social media, et cetera, and on the internet. And marina operations seem to be very well respected. And I think that's great. So people just getting in and out, you know, being able to enjoy the sound, putting their boats in and out and all that, it seems to be very consistently that there's great service. So that's wonderful.
Okay. And what about tourism? That's another thing that the port is getting more and more involved in, it seems. They've got the whale watching boats and things
that's
like
good.
that. Are there other ideas you would bring to the table in terms of possibly expanding those efforts?
Yeah, I love the whale watching. I will say that too. That's another thing I think was great that they brought in. I think they're looking at expanding that already, but I would
believe
look
they
at that.
are.
Yeah, look at that more. Definitely go down that track, and look at some other things. And, you know, I've wondered about sailing. You can't go anywhere. You know, if I wanted to go take sailing lessons, I'm going up to Bellingham. You know, so some things like that. Like, what else can we bring into that end? It's obviously been a draw, so let's continue. And the marsh, what could we do there? You know, what kind of public awareness, learning kind of centers and things around the marsh. It's really important, and people don't fully understand the importance. And so I think there's some things we can do there.
Okay, good. Well, let's go ahead and get to the stage where you can directly address the voters and tell them why they should vote for you. And so feel free to do
Okay.
that now.
Okay. Well, as I said, I'm Angela Harris, and I am running for Port Commissioner in District 1. There are actually 5, and there's a lot of confusion around this, that there are 5 commissioners that run the port. 3 of them are up for re-election. Each of them have someone that are challenging. So I would just encourage you to get involved and to vote and to look at the issues and decide for yourself who you want to vote for and what's important to you. I think that's really important. The other thing I would say is I understand that I'm a new face and new to politics. I think new to politics is sort of a positive at this point because I'm not in this for any political reason. I really want to serve. I bring the issues that are important to me, we've talked about here today. You can look at my website at angelainedmonds.com. You can go off of that website to my Facebook as well as my LinkedIn, and you can kind of learn a little bit more about me that way if you look at some of the comments and things that are on my LinkedIn page from my peers, stakeholders, and my manager, and look at some of the things I've done in the past, again, to kind of build out the story, to understand me a little bit more. Welcome you to reach out. As I said today, we have a beautiful marina and shoreline and a wonderful opportunity with the marsh, and I would love to serve you, be a voice for you, and be a voice for the marsh and the shoreline. And ultimately, that's being a voice for my children's future, which is very important to me. So I would humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Angela Harris, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
I wish you the
Appreciate
best of
time.
luck in November.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.